Have we got an attorney? I don't guess we need one to get started. Okay, we've got our technical difficulties working, so I'm going to go ahead and call this special meeting of the City Transit Trust to order. Please call the roll.
Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Burke. Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren.
Business item number 1, consider approval of the minutes of the City Transit Trust special meeting of July 13, 2021. Motion for approval in a second. Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 2, consider approving a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the split letter pertaining to the American Rescue Plan, ARP, grant. Ryan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and trustees. Basically, this letter is a allocation of funds that was approved for the American Rescue Plan, and the formula is based out of population expenses from past years and everything. But this is just the approval letter to go ahead and understand here's the amount of money that the federal government is allocating for the city of Lawton. So,
All right. Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion for approval. Is there a second? Second. A second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 3, consider approving a resolution approving the split letters for 5339 and 5307 funding from the Federal Transit Administration and authorizing the chairman and secretary to execute the same. Ryan.
Similar to the last agenda item, these are actually the annual split letters that provide the allocation from the federal government for 5307 funds, which are your basic day-to-day operation, and 5339, which are your capital grants funding. So, and again, those are based on population and everything.
A motion for approval? So moved. Motion. Do I hear a second? And a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 4, consider approving a resolution authorizing the filing of a grant for federal assistance under the American Rescue Plan, appropriated funding, approving the application and authorizing the chairman and secretary to execute the same. Ryan.
This is actually the approval for the grant application, so we can go ahead and apply for those grant funds, which is a little over $623,000 that are 100% federal funds. So.
Motion for approval? So moved. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for adjournment? A motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Harris.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Hampton. Yes. Fortenbaugh. Yes. Johnson. Warren. Yes. Hankins. Yes.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, now I'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Lawton City Council to order. Please stand for the invocation by Pastor Lonnie Cahay of Dayspring Community Church and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor?
Let us pray. Our Father, we thank you for today, a day that you have given us, a day that we can rejoice. And God, I thank you for that you are sovereign, that you love everyone in this room, that you love everyone in the city of Lawton, that you love everyone in this county, Comanche County, that you love everyone in this state, great state of Oklahoma, that you love everyone in this great nation that we live in, and you love everyone in this world. So God, today we come before you asking for wisdom. I ask for your continued wisdom and protection from our mayor, Mayor Burker. I pray for our council people and our city clerk and manager that you give them wisdom and understanding of the decisions that they will take and make today, that you will intervene in their decision-making and help them to just be people of integrity. That's my prayer, God, is that we all become people of integrity. I want to thank you for being here in our presence today. I thank you, Jesus, for loving us first and being there for us. So we give you all praise and glory. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, and please be seated, and please call the roll.
Chapman.
Thank you, Pastor.
Burke. Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris.
Okay, and now we come to a time for some proclamations. It's National Women's History Month, so we'll start with that. If the ladies will come forward. If you're not up here, this still covers you, okay? So, National Women's History Month. Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas women have and continue to play critical roles in the economic, culture, and social spheres of life by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside the home. Women have played a unique role throughout history by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force. Whereas women are particularly important in the establishment of early charitable and cultural institutions around the world. Women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social movement. And whereas women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which created a more fair and just society for all. Whereas despite these contributions, the role of women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Women have historically played vital roles in creating and building the city of Lawton and continue to be active members of the community today, which you can see here. All of them are very active. Whereas the city of Lawton recognizes the contributions of women from all ethnicities, while also acknowledging that not every group's story was and is the same. And whereas the relevance of current-day suffragists continuing to advocate for equality and inclusion, Daughters of the American Revolution, Lawton Businesswomen, League of Women Voters of Lawton, Mayor's Commission on the Status of Women, Mountain Metro Ambucks, Pioneer Club of Lawton, the Women That Vote Arts Corporation, Theta Upsilon Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha 68, Oklahoma Women Veterans Organization, Lawton Forest Hill chapter 0116, and Women United for Action continue the legacy of uplifting women everywhere in honor of National Women's History Month. Now therefore, I, Stan Booker, Mayor, City of Lawton, with pride do hereby proclaim March 2022 is National Women's History Month. Let's give them a round of applause. So let me take off my spectacles. Now you, Liz, you want to say a little something?
Good afternoon, everyone, to the mayor and to the council. If there are any other women veterans in the audience, would you please stand? Okay, before you are women veterans, and one thing I want to do before we get started, if you signed up and listed before 1993, please step forward. Before 1993. 1993. So 1993 is when I enlisted in the United States Army, and these ladies, they paved the way for me. And I want to say from me to you all, thank you. Before us, we have our first female commander for the DAV standing. Would you please raise your hand? Also from Tatum, Oklahoma, because it's not just Fort Sill, Lawton area, but around the state of Oklahoma. She is the first female to retire from the military in Tatum, Oklahoma. And Liz Williams. And before me, I have some chartered members, but I just want to say to these ladies, thank you for all you continue to do. They're all engaged in the community. They continue to answer the call for our community, not only in the local area, but around this state and across this nation. Once again, thank you, ladies, Mayor Booker, and to your audience, thank you for your support.
All right, thank you, ladies. Fran, you want to come forward? Now we're going to do National Professional Social Workers Month. Fran, how do you say your last name?
Altizer.
Altizer. Okay. So, all right, and you are?
Mr. Morris, Darryl Morris.
All right.
Darryl Morris.
Jason.
Hi. Okay, so this is National Professional Social Workers Month. March is National Professional Social Worker Month, licensed social workers proclaim. Whereas the primary mission of the social work profession is to enhance human well-being and strive to meet the basic needs of all people, especially the most vulnerable in society. Professional social workers are change agents who put the ideas of citizenship into action every day and know advocacy turns communities into national priorities. And whereas professional social workers know that discrimination of any kind limits human potential and must be addressed. Professional social workers stand up for individuals and support diverse families in every community. Professional social workers, that's a tongue twister, believe in shared prosperity and opportunity for everyone. Now I'm laughing and I'm not going to. Whereas professional social workers in Oklahoma help people in every stage of life function better in their environments, improve their relationships with others, and solve personal and family challenges. Professional social workers know trauma can create lifelong social and economic disadvantages, and access to mental health treatment and health care services is vital and saves millions of lives. And whereas professional social workers in Lawton Fort Sill know all children have the right to safe environments, quality education, and that dignity and caregiving for the elderly and impaired defines a nation's character. I like that. Military communities need support to ensure successful transitions throughout the cycle of their careers and into communities as veterans. And whereas Lawton Fort Sill social workers celebrate the courage, hope, strength, and unity that is emerging in our community as a week to promote March as National Social Worker Month and recognize that all people matter, no matter their lot. Now, therefore, in recognition of the numerous contributions provided nationally by over 120,000 social workers, I, Stan Booker, Mayor of Lawton, proclaim March 2022 as National Social Workers Month and call on the garrison commander and all citizens to join with the National Association of Social Workers in celebration of the exemplary service and support of the social work profession in Lawton, Fort Sill community in Oklahoma and in the nation. And before we give them a round of applause, I want to tell you something. As mayor, I've learned how important this profession is to our community. Let's show them some love.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting us have the privilege of coming up here and trying to let the community know that usually we have our heads down working hard. There aren't as many of us here this afternoon because most people are employed, and we can't walk off and leave clients just because we wanted to be here. But we have a whole month to celebrate the fact that a professional social worker spends 4 years. We have a master's degree. Then we spend an additional 2 years in a practice where we have to gain 4,000 hours, be supervised every week for 2 years before we can even sit for the test. So it's not only hard to say, like the mayor said, it's a hard endeavor to get that clinical license. And I'm lucky enough to have a community that continues to support me as a supervisor to help new MSWs pursue that clinical license. And we wanted to share a couple of free events that are going to happen during March, and I'm going to let Mr. Morris tell you about it.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here today to celebrate social workers. So you got me off. See what you did to celebrate the profession of social work. A couple events that's going to be taking place this month on March the 16th at 6 o'clock at Bethlehem Baptist Church. We're going to be having a discussion panel, and we're going to be talking about mental wellness and mental health awareness. And so we're going to have a panel. It's going to be from 6 to 7, where we're all actually going to be letting the community ask questions about mental health. And we do have 4 licensed professionals that's going to be sitting on that panel. Each one of these professionals are licensed social workers. So we're just trying to, give more information and bring awareness to this community about mental health. And then on the 26th, we have a free event that is going to be giving out free CEUs for those who are in the mental health profession who need CEUs on an annual basis. We're going to be giving out free CEUs, and it's going to be taking place at the public library on Saturday the 26th from 1 to 4 p.m. Thank you.
It's on ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences, some of the newest information that will help this community begin to thrive. Thank you, Mayor.
Let's give them another round of applause. Probably never before in history has the country been so aware of the importance of good mental health. Okay, and you're going to put one of these in the lobby and one at the Fort Sill Clinic, right? All right. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Let's give them another round of applause. Now we have the citizens of the month. We're always better when we work together, aren't we? Could I get Staff Sergeant Corey Gulley, Sergeant Alexander Johnson, and Grady Brewer to come forward, please? Don't be bashful. Come on down.
Hey, Mayor, before you get into your recommendation or your recognition there, Colonel Taylor wanted to let you know that he couldn't be here. He's sorry for that, but he's absolutely proud of the soldiers of Fort Sill. So he's looking forward to this, and he's sorry he couldn't be here.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Staff Sergeant Corey Gully. I'm sorry. Staff Sergeant Gully got sent to Atlanta, so this is him on FaceTime. If that's okay.
So this is kind of cool. So it's Staff Sergeant Corey Gully. He's joining us. Everybody wave. Everybody wave. Okay. All right. I'm going to let you man the man, okay? All right. We got family support here. This is awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna read this, and I'm gonna make a comment as we go too. Whereas, as an act of community service, Staff Sergeant Corey Gully, Sergeant Alexander Johnson, and Grady Brewer regularly dedicate their time to the youth of Lawton Fort Sill community. And whereas Staff Sergeant Corey Gully, Sergeant Alexander Johnson, and Grady Brewer volunteer a minimum of 10 hours a week working with, guiding, and counseling the young people who come to the Bad Boys Boxing and Fitness Gym. Whereas when a young person cannot afford a membership or would like extra training, these gentlemen donate their services to ensure they are always available for the youth of our community. These gentlemen also provide rides, snacks, and tutoring when the need arises. Whereas the combined efforts of Staff Sergeant Corey Gully, Sergeant Alexander Johnson, and Grady Brewer have encouraged young people to stay in school, seek employment, and kept them out of harm's way. And whereas the work they do is an investment in the community and the future of these young people, I think we can all think about an adult that made an investment in us when we were growing up. Their dedication will continue to better the Lawton Fort Sill community as the youth they have worked with in the past often return and volunteer themselves, thus investing in the next generation. Now therefore, I, Stan Booker, Mayor, City of Lawton, do hereby proclaim proudly Staff Sergeant Corey Gully, Sergeant Alexander Johnson, and Grady Brewer as Citizen of the Month for March 2022, and commend these gentlemen for their many contributions and unselfish commitment to the progress of this community and the residents of Lawton Fort Sill. On the behalf of the City of Lawton, thank you for setting an inspirational example for others to emulate. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, before I hand somebody the mic, I'm going to say that somebody texted me and invited me to a fundraiser down at Bad Boys. And I show up down there, and I'm watching them. I mean, they're fundraising. I thought it was going to be kids boxing. It was adults. They weren't just boxing. They were beating the snot out of each other. And I thought, man, I thought politics was tough. This is tough. Anyway, it was great.
I just want to say thank you, Mr. Booker. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And I just want to be glad to be here and be part of this. So thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. And then on March 26th, we're going to have a kids show between 2 and 4 on March 26th for our kids that we train at our gym. And we'll also have an adult show, which is from 5 to 7. No, 7 to 9, I'm sorry. 7 to 9, I'm sorry. So if anybody can come out and you support that, we're going to be doing this. It's also a scholarship for some of the kids that we mentor at our gym. So some of the kids that can't afford to come, we like to have scholarships for them to raise money so that way we can support them with some of the help we have at the gym. So if anybody can support that, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for working with our kids. Let's appreciate them again. So this is for you. Are you the one? No. Oh, okay. Who done it? Thank you, guys. God bless you. Oh, you got to get a picture. Let's appreciate him one more time. Okay, and we move on now to the reports by the Mayor and City Council. We're going to start down here with Ward 1. Then? Mr. Harris?
I just want to offer up my prayers to all those people around the world that are in distress today and in uncertain conditions and may not have a place to live or food or clothing, and hope that we will all pray for them and lift them up, that will resolve quickly.
Amen. Ms. Chapman?
I'm glad to see Councilman Hampton back in his seat and doing well health-wise, and we're glad you're back here, Alan.
All right, Mr. Hampton?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I do appreciate all the prayers. I had some serious health issues that had come up from all the council citizens and friends that held me up and gave me and my family support during that time. So thank you guys very, very much. I'm glad to be here. Just to let you know, I've got 100%. My doctor said, get at it just like you were before, so I'm back at it for the citizens of Lawton and Ward 5, and I certainly am happy to be here. Also, I had an opportunity to spend a little bit of time with the ladies down at the Mattie Bill House. If you haven't been over there to see that and to see some of the history that you're living in, I want to invite you to do that. The museum is another good place to find that stuff. So if you have a little bit of downtime and you want to take a visit and kind of see where you're living at, and those tours are just fantastic. So I want to invite you to that, and I appreciate it, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fortenbaugh? Okay, Ms. Johnson?
Yes. On March the 25th from 11 to 1, there's an open house at the Owens Multipurpose Center, and it's going to highlight some of the agencies and organizations that receive funding from the city through the CDBG grant. Also, other organizations that are providing services as well. There is going to be lunch provided by Arvest Bank, so there's going to be some grilled hot dogs and things like that. So we want to make sure that everybody comes out and gets familiar with some of the services that are being provided in our city. And that, again, is on the 25th from 11 to 1 at the Owens Multipurpose Center. If an organization wants to set up a table, you can call them at 580-581-3347, extension 1212.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Warren? Okay. And that will move on to audience participation. Anyone having an item of business to present to the City Council that does not appear on the agenda, please come forward at this time. David, come on up.
Good evening, Council. Morning,
Right,
evening, one of them.
You got to tell us your name.
David Tyler, Lawton, Oklahoma, 501 Southwest 77th. Don't know my blood type.
All right, thank you, David. What do you got to tell us?
I want to let the council know I am fully behind this sports complex that's going in here. It's been needed for a long, long time. And the mayor asked me to contact each one of you individually, and I wasn't in a hurry to do that, to voice my opinion on the location. I was going to wait till I got back from my vacation. But after this article came out, where it says one of the major arguments that the location still holds true, the complex will be visible from Interstate 44. Lawtonians and others have used the same argument for the outdoor sports complex in Chickasha, which is built along Interstate 44 and is easily visible by passing motorists. Putting Lawton's complex anywhere else would be a disaster. Well, that gives everybody the impression that you have a clear view off I-44 to see where they're planning to put it, and that's deceitful in my opinion. You can't see it. Since I read this yesterday, I've driven north, south on I-44, and you may have a total between the gaps of about 15 to 30 seconds if you concentrate looking to the west. If you're coming from the north, and maybe you can see the roof, right? You've got trees, you've got guardrails, you've got concrete, barriers on the bridge overpasses, that is very misleading, and people that don't actually drive it will say, man, that sounds good. Sports complex in Chickasha, those are beautifully maintained fields. Nobody can deny that. They're beautiful. You've got 3 to 5 miles to admire that. Ours is a building and a parking lot. And if you're driving down Interstate 44 and you look, first thing comes to mind, what new store did they put over there? I'm all for this. But at visibility, the Miracle Park. That's where the old ABC ballpark was, where American Legion teams would play, and the king and his court would come and play at the softball field against the Fraternal Order of Police.
We've got 15 seconds.
That's visibility. That's visibility. This is misleading and wrong.
Thank you for coming. And is there anybody else that would like to come and speak during the audience participation portion? How you guys doing?
Hi.
Good. Please tell us your name and address. And
Good
then you can
afternoon,
start.
Mayor and City Council. My name is Mike Selstead. This is my wife, Cindy. We live at 5702 Northwest Chestnut Lane in Lawton. We'd like to talk about our fence and easement situation.
Before you do that, though.
Go ahead.
I just want to let you know that I realize we're doing this backwards and that you're probably going to see this in a month because we apparently were supposed to go to the City Planning Commission, but that's not where we were directed. So that's why we're here and just wanted to kind of introduce it to you guys.
Okay. Basically, we're trying to see if we can get permitted to do a fence along the side street of our home. We've had a lot of foot traffic that walks very close to our home since we live on a corner of an intersection. And many people, especially younger people, kids, will cross right in front of our house. They'll walk across and kind of take out a lot of that grass and sod, and it's worn out and it's kind of fading away from being able to support the foundation there at the home. So we wanted to see if we could do that. We've got several trees along the side there that we didn't want to put a fence on in between the home and the trees. We wanted to have that on the other side, and that does eat into that easement of the 11 feet. If we could work with the department that figures these things out and helps us to do that, we'd appreciate y'all's help on that.
Okay, and Janet will catch you on your way out and get you fixed up there, okay?
All right.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming. Is there anybody else that would like to come during the audience participation portion of our meeting? Okay, and I need you to state your name and address for us, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Nolan Berry. I'm with the Lawton Firefighters Association, Local 1882 here in town. I come to you today to speak about our Fill the Boot program. That it's a collaboration between the International Association of Firefighters and MDA. That's been a partnership for over 60 years between the two. And Lawton Fire has historically been a huge participant in this, and we've been able to raise substantial amounts of money every year and donate that back. And all of the money that gets donated back to MDA is used for the treatment and care for muscular dystrophy. And just in the state of Oklahoma alone, there is over 2,000 families that are dealt with this, or that are dealing with this. That being said, over the last 6 years, Lawton Fire has been pulled off of the streets, and our ability to raise money and raise funds has has been put down substantially. We're now at the point where we raise about a tenth to a third, somewhere to what we used to average every year. And it's the majority of that reasoning is because we were pulled off of the streets and not allowed to go out and actually collect funds that way due to the panhandling ordinance that was passed. In the information packet that I've given out, there are examples of permits that other cities in the state of Oklahoma have used or are using to allow their fire departments to get out onto the streets and do this the way that it has been done for so many years before, and so successfully. I was one time told by a wiser man than me that we don't like to reinvent the wheel as firefighters. That's what we usually don't enjoy doing that. So that was one of the options that we have. The other option is to potentially look at the ordinance and maybe put in some sort of exemption. There's also at the very back of the packet, there's also a print off from a website about the story from Oklahoma City Fire. They were in the same situation that we are currently, and how they handled it as well. So just wanted to bring this to your attention, and thank you all for allowing me to be here today.
All right, no, thank you
Yes,
for
have a
coming.
nice day.
Is there anybody else that would like to come forward during the audience participation portion of our meeting? Seeing none, we will continue with the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda prior to action and considered separately. Council, we're going to be striking item number 3 and pulling number 5 and 11 for further comment. Do you have any items that you would like to pull? Number 8? Are there any others, Council?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of striking item number 3 and pulling items number 5, 8, and 11.
Do I have a second? Please vote. Consent agenda passes 7-0. That moves us to item number 5. Consider approving the Youth and Family Affairs Committee funding recommendations. And Dr. Burgess, would you like to come forward, please?
Mayor?
If y'all don't know, this is Dr. Sylvia Burgess, and she is the technical lead of our Youth and Family Committee, and just so helpful. Retired from Cameron, and she's just, I think she got into a bigger job than she realized with Youth and
Yes.
Family Committee, but
Yes.
she has done such a tremendous job. But go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the City Council. Just want to give you briefly, I've given you a written report on behalf of the committee of everything that we've done since inception in approximately March of 21. And I just wanted to sort of give you the highlights and be available to answer any questions you may have about it. But it's been a difficult and a challenging process. The first thing we did was develop some operating rules, which we were required to do by the city ordinance. We then developed bylaws, standing rules, and began to develop an application. And the hardest part of the application was trying to encapsulate the different requirements of the ordinance to make sure that whatever we put down that people applied for funding was mirrored by the requirements set forth in the application. So it's an extensive application. We had lots of help from the United Way, who also provided training on how to complete the application. We had 2 separate training sessions for those interested in applying for funding. So we went forward from that point. We did research across the city to figure out what services were available, what services were still needed. And I will tell all of you, the biggest thing that we discovered with all of the things that we did over this past year is there are lots of services and lots of great activities provided throughout the city. The biggest thing that's needed is more. We need more capacity. There's lots of kids who have needs and lots of youth who are troubled and at-risk youth who don't have access to some of those services. There's just not enough to go around. So there are many more needed, and I applaud the citizens of the City of Lawton for coming up with the CIP funding to fund these sorts of efforts, which are desperately needed. So once we sent out the application process, we worked with the media. We have social media as well. We got that information out. We received a total of 11 applications for well over the amount of funding we had available. We then began the process of going through those applications, narrowed them down to 6 based upon the criteria set forth in the ordinance. And in the application, we went on site visits. The entire committee went on site visits to each of those 6 different groups, ultimately resulting in a recommendation for current funding of 3. We still want to go back to some of the applicants and talk to them about how to fine-tune their processes. And so I've got meetings already scheduled with several to sit down with them to talk about what they can do to better qualify for funding, because they've got great programs. It's just that they have no way to measure results, or they're engaging in things that involve building and capital funding. So we have other ways to direct them to receive funding for those purposes. And in a nutshell, that's where we are. We are currently arranging for training that will go out citywide, as well as to all of those who provide youth services, on how to best accomplish the needs set forth in the ordinance, how to best meet the needs of youth and help them avoid going into the criminal justice system by becoming productive, successful adults. And I'm happy to answer any questions any of you may have.
I'm going to make a comment about the people that are serving on the committee. We actually have a committee and a subcommittee called a technical committee. And the committee is made up of community members that have experience in some way working with children. Many times that's a degree in the social sciences. Sometimes some pastors that are, spent their life working with kids. And so it's a very good group of people that I have been very impressed. I've gone to some of the meetings, I haven't made them all. I've been very impressed at how well they are managing the city's money with their recommendation, making sure that measures are in place so that we can measure performance and all of that. So I appreciate the work they've done. And are there any questions for Dr. Burgess?
I want to mention one thing really quickly, if I'm not out of order. We actually had another person agree to be considered as a technical advisor tonight, this afternoon. So Fran Altizer, who spoke on behalf of the social, she's a drug and alcohol abuse counselor, and she's very happy to serve as a member of our committee, technical advisory committee as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
I didn't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you again to Dr. Burgess, because she is everything to the committee. She does a lot of work, a lot of insight, and also to the committee members who come consistently and they go above and beyond. It was a really hard process in choosing, because there were a lot of people that were passionate about what they were doing, but they really looked at the technical side and making sure that those that are receiving the funding have the capacity, and then the follow-up with making sure that those that were not to that level just yet, but how do we get them there? Because the idea is to make sure that we do have as many organizations providing quality services to our young people, not just passionately, but also technically. So I want to publicly thank everyone who sits on that committee, as well as the technical committee. And I really see that we're going to have a lot of amazing things coming through this for our young people. So thank you all for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Dr. Burgess, what's the average cost for someone to go through the program?
Well, for the programs that we've recommended, there isn't an average cost, because they're very different in scope. I mean, and the nice thing about the ones we've recommended is it includes people at the college level, it includes people who are very young, middle school, high school type, so it sort of touches a variety of where we understand the needs begin young and the needs go through even to college. So, I mean, giving them opportunities like the Cameron program is one of the recommendations that helps them understand they do have the ability to go to college even if they have never expected to. And they've done programs like that before very successfully. So each of the programs has a unique aspect to it, and they have the capacity to carry it. But there isn't really, because it's a wide variety of things they're going to be doing, so we don't have a specific.
We kind of saw it as a little bit of a continuum of services. Not exactly, but you can't just hit one target group in a city. You've got to spread it out so that everybody is getting some services. So I felt like that we were in good agreement at the meeting when we made those decisions and on the same page with all of us. So anyway, I think we've got a good plan.
And lots of detailed discussion. Thank you, Councilwoman Hankins, but very good discussion and concerns and discussion about opportunities. So we aren't even through with those we're recommending funding. We still want to work with them. I guess we means a lot of it means me. And every time the mayor says, what do you think about, I know he's got another job for me to do. So
I also wanted to thank the current leadership Lawton class. They've reached out to us to see how they can help, and their class project is to help us with a website that we can maintain on our level. So I just wanted to recognize them for that as well.
Yeah, if no one else has anything to say, I was just going to say this is quite a wonderful thing that the citizens voted in the CIP to be able to do this for our community. We talk about caring, and this certainly is caring in action. And I just think that this is a great move to organize this and get this together for the citizens.
If that's all the comments and questions, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second? A second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. I need two. You can vote. I need one more vote. I only have 6. Okay, and the motion carries 7-0. And thank you very much for coming, Dr. Burgess. Now we move on to item number 8. Consider approving an airport rescue plan concession rent relief grant for the Lawton Fort Sill Regional Airport in the amount of $44,900 for AIP 340-0051-045. Mr. Harris.
Yes, I just would like a little explanation of this and which vendors are affected and the rationale behind it.
Sure, I can address that for you. Alan and I serve on the Airport Authority, and that authority is going to be the receiver of these funds. This is a FAA government program to help out airports because, frankly, COVID wiped out air travel. And part of that, even here in Lawton, we lost concessions and they weren't paying rent in there anymore. The restaurants shut down for a while. One of the car rental companies left and stopped paying rent. We have half the flights that we used to have. And so we've had quite an impact, and it was a challenge to keep it running. Good thing is this is federal money. It doesn't have to be paid back. It doesn't come from the people of Lawton. And it'll help us absorb a little bit of the impact we had these last 2 years.
We have a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion or debate. Please vote. The motion carries 7-0. Item number 11. Consider accepting the Lawton Park Sports and Recreation Trails and Open Spaces Master Plan, including any floor amendments. Christine.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This is the final version of the Parks Master Plan. Besides there just being a few grammatical errors, spelling changes, there's not much that's changed since the draft. The most important part that I want to point out is the first few pages of the plan is a dedication to Mr. Ross Hankins for his ongoing support of parks, recreation in whole, and just his unwavering support of the city of Lawton. So if you would take a few minutes just to look at those dedication pages, and then I'm here to answer any questions.
Yeah, Christine, I pulled this. I had some constituents that wanted to ensure that this is only a recommendation plan, and everything else is going. All decisions about this master park plan is going to be made by the council.
Yeah, right? The master plan is strictly just guidelines for the future. It gives us a broad direction of where we want to go. No specific plans or recommendations are made in this plan or are being approved at this time.
Good recommendations. Okay, thank you. I'm the one that pulled that for that reason. Mayor, I want to go ahead and make a motion to accept the Master Lawton Parks, Sports, Recreation, Trails, and Open Spaces Master Plan as a recommendation only, and any action taken by the CIP or the Parks, this Parks Master Plan will be returned to the council for approval.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second. And a second. Discussion or debate?
We don't have those documents to view on our...
They're on file in the clerk's office. It's about that thick.
Okay.
And we'll be able to, Christine, can you show a couple of those to the council members? And I'd be happy to read the dedication if you wouldn't mind, if that's all right with the mayor. Mayor, is that okay?
Great. I think it's great.
What's page? Okay. All right. So I'm going to start. It's 2 pages. Bear with me. Started reading. Yeah. Okay. So the dedication reads, the City of Lawton Parks and Recreation Department would like to dedicate the Parks, Sports, and Recreation Trails and Open Space Master Plan to the late Mr. Ross Hankins. Mr. Hankins was a steadfast supporter of the Lawton community, particularly advocating for the enhancement of Lawton parks and recreation opportunities. Before his passing in September 2021, Mr. Hankins served as at the helm of the City of Lawton Parks and Recreation Commission. The foundation of this Parks Master Plan for the City of Lawton was built on Mr. Hankins' passion for advancing Lawton parks, curating quality recreation activities for children and adults, strengthening Lawton's 3 recreation centers, and amplifying all that the community of Lawton has to offer. Mr. Hankins was one of 8 children while growing up in Lawton. The front yard of the family home was their sports complex. His siblings and the neighborhood kids and anyone else who wanted to join them would play all kinds of games, but football was one of their favorites, which is a sport that might have caused the grass to cease growing in those early days. In early days, Elmer Thomas Park had a dozen or so backstops where kids could play baseball. City League games were also played there. He often spoke of Oshleger Park and wanted to get it back into top shape. When he and siblings attended St. Mary's School, they played on the median of Gore Boulevard, which is a one-way street at the time and less traffic than today. At the end of the day, wherever they could grab a place to play, they took it and made it their playground. Mr. Hankins attended St. Mary's until the school closed and finished his senior year at Lawton Senior High School, where he excelled at football and other sports. He received a full scholarship to West Texas State University, where he played football until his knees could not tolerate the wear and tear. He returned home to Lawton and finished his degree at Cameron University. Mr. Hankins had a heart for children and wanted them to always have a place to play sports, which he hoped would keep them out of trouble. He spent most of his spare time dedicated to enhancing the sports opportunities for children while also coaching many youth sports teams. Before his passing, Mr. Hankins was looking forward to Lawton being a center in southwest Oklahoma for kids to excel in sports. According to his wife, Ward 1 Councilwoman Marianne Hankins, Mr. Hankins wanted all parks where kids play to be top-notch. He was an all-or-nothing kind of guy and possessed a knack for making things happen. Ross was the most giving person I've ever met, Mrs. Hankins said. He was a patient listener. He gave generously of his time, his money, and his skills to help others. I was fortunate to be the receiver of his complete and selfless love for 23 years. I had the best and was happy to share that with the community.
Christine, is this basically unchanged from the previous version? Yes. Okay.
Okay, and we have a motion and a second, and appreciate you reading that, City Manager. And I want to make a comment. We have an item that is on here about trails. So already the staff has started working on this, and they've gone out for a grant to double our money, basically, almost double our money. And I appreciate the staff's aggressiveness at bringing that already. And I hope that we'll continue to see these, and I wonder if we have a timeline anywhere of when this might happen, for instance, Oshleger Park.
I don't have a timeline. Christine, Dwayne, I know we're working on that, but I don't have a timeline yet as far, no, not yet.
Okay.
We're working on it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And if there's no further discussion or, oh, yes, Ms. Johnson.
Just wanted to make a comment. Just wanted to thank the staff and all the work that you guys are doing. I know for myself and maybe the other council members, when we're thinking about some of the changes or implementing some of this, some of these ideas, I would like to be, and I think the council may too, kind of be notified and kind of given a heads up on what those changes might be so that we can be a part of that decision-making.
Wonderful. Just any further discussion or debate? Please vote. Need one more vote. And the motion carries 7-0. Giant step forward for us. And by the way, item number 9 that passed with the consent agenda was the TSEC grant application for $750,000 to almost double the money that the city puts in for a real good parks trails plan. And I recommend everybody go to the website and look at those attachments. And that gets us through to the business items. Number 18, consider approving a third amendment to the trust indenture of the Museum of the Great Plains Authority and authorize the execution of the third amendment. John?
Mayor and council, good afternoon. This is just an item. The Museum Authority recently voted on this, and their authority unanimously passed these amendments, and there's two. One is to remove references of the Institute of the Great Plains, which recently dissolved, so they're going to remove references to it in their trust indenture. And then the other amendment is to reduce the number of trustees from 15 to 13, which the Museum Authority believes will give them more flexibility on establishing a quorum and voting in the future.
Any questions? Any motions?
Mayor, Council, I move to approve this third amendment to the trust indenture of the Museum of the Great Plains Authority and authorize the execution of the third amendment.
And do we have a second? Second. I've got a motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 19, consider approving a First Amendment to the amended and restated Declaration of Trust of the McMahon Auditorium Authority and authorizing the execution of the First Amendment. John?
Mayor, this item, and Mr. Poudrier in the back has some additional background if council needs it, but this item just takes into consideration the fact that the Lawton Arts and Humanities Council is dissolving, and so it is changing the trust of the McMahon Authority to take on a lot of those roles and responsibilities, as well as to take on the assets of the Arts and Humanities Council.
You want to add anything to that?
Mayor, Council, thank you for having me. That actually pretty much sums it up. What we're very excited about this merger, the McMahon Auditorium Authority is very excited about taking on the mission of the Lawton Arts and Humanities Council and promoting the arts and freedom of expression in Lawton.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
There's one last thing. Also, you'll see it in the next document. This allows what used to be the Lawton Arts and Humanities Council, the McMahon Auditorium Trust, to receive those funds that were allocated in the CIP for that particular organization. So the next document will fix that, so they'll be able to use those funds at that point.
Okay. Any questions?
Will the members of the current Arts and Humanities Council be involved in what you guys are doing? Are you guys merging with those members, or how is that going to look now?
That's a good question. And so we've actually invited those who want to continue to be involved back, and we are actually reforming a committee as an advisory committee under McMahon Auditorium Authority. We've already established the International Festival Committee, which did move over from Lawton Arts Humanities Council and moved directly over, and we actually have the same membership, same chair and vice chair. And so they're all on board and supportive.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion for approval and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Jason. Moves us to item number 20. Consider approving a resolution repealing and replacing resolution number 2021-64, specifying the revised intent of the mayor and council of the city of Lawton, Oklahoma, with regard to the replacement of the existing 7/8% capital improvement operational expenditure sales tax and the 1 1/4% capital improvement sales tax with a new sales tax to be levied of 2 1/8% as approved by the registered voters of the city of Lawton at election held for such purpose on February 11, 2020. John?
Mayor, as you just read, this is kind of a housekeeping issue. The voters of Lawton already approved this, so we're just changing the percentage, and we're also including the $20 million allocation for Parks and Recreation, which was in the original resolution, but for some reason, two versions ago, that number fell out of the resolution. So that's the other part of this as well.
Okay, so just housekeeping.
Yep.
Any questions? Motions?
Move to approve the resolution.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. And with that, we move on to staff reports. Item number 21, customer service training from Great Plains Technology Center for city employees who interact with the public. Janet.
So Mayor, Janet's going to sit up here in a minute and talk to you about customer service training, and I don't want to steal all of her thunder, so I'm going to keep quiet on Disney and a few other things. The training aspect came out of conversations that Janet and I had in reference to permits and planning and how to make that particular division of her department a more friendly place to visit, and it can expand it from there. So it's now included and been transitioned over to human resources. So we'll expand that training out in the future. But I want you to know that we are very much aware that we want to present the right image to our citizens. We want to treat them properly. We want them to feel welcomed. And so Janet has kicked it off, and we will incorporate that for more routine and semi-annual, quarterly training, whatever that works out to be. But we will have that training routinely in the years to come. So, Janet? Did I steal all of it? I hope I didn't.
You just about did, except for my southern hospitality part of it. But as you know, we all need to be welcomed whenever we go into City Hall. And this is all that we're trying to do, is just make sure that just like you welcome somebody into your home, we're going to do the same thing whenever people come into City Hall. And so it was really good. Last week, I was able to get the whole group to be my group, and so we had a lot of interaction, a lot of kind of role playing. We actually played back some scenarios too, and it's just 1 hour a month, and it was very good. We did focus some on the Disney principles, and so that was nice, you know, with the impression, connection, attention. Nope, I missed it.
Attitude.
Attitude.
Response.
There you go.
And exceptions.
See, he did not even attend the training, and see how well he did. So we're gonna make sure that we're doing our very best. So thank you.
And Mayor, as we move forward, I want to thank Janet for kicking it off. As we move forward, Craig and his group in HR will take over, and we'll expand that training even more from customer service to diversity training, to harassment training, to supervisory training. So we're going to really roll out a training program that encapsulates all of those items, focusing on customer service as the bottom line.
Okay, what you want, train.
Mayor, Council, I'm very happy about this. I think it's very important for us to be customer friendly to all the citizens, no matter if they call or come up to the utility area, wherever it is. This is very, very important, I think.
All right, thank you.
Just want to say thank you to the city manager for going forward with that, because I think some of us mentioned some of those trainings that are going to be implemented, which are very, very important. So thank you.
Mr. Warren.
Not really a training comment, but if there's any way that we can work a one sheet into the license and permits office so that we can hand that to a customer that answers, 90% of those questions that.
I'm going to steal Janet's thunder one more time. And she can stand over there and wave and say, yeah, we're doing it, because she brought that to my attention the other day. We are already in the progress of doing that. It's kind of a one-stop shop document-type paper. We're all over it, and I want to thank Janet and her team for doing that. And again, I want to thank HR, because they're going to be picking this ball up and running with it in the future. So we're tracking.
I love it. I love it. Any final comments?
One more.
Yes.
And I want to pile on to the Praise Janet bandwagon. I called a week ago and asked with the city manager and Janet to have a meeting with me to address this issue, and also the assistant city manager, and they did an excellent job explaining what the progress was and where they were going, and I think I'm very excited about going forward with Vista and all the other projects that are coming into town. Thank you, Janet.
Any other comments? Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Oh,
I have a few more comments. I stole all her thunder, but I got some more to deliver.
Yeah,
if you
okay.
got a minute.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, Mayor. If you got, okay. Really quick, Mayor, I will be attending the International City Managers Conference next week, where I will get to showcase, along with Garver Engineering, our capital management program. We're super excited about delivering that. That is the International City Managers Association, which encompasses folks from all over the world who do what we do in different parts of the world and the country. This will be the Southwest region of the United States, and we're really excited about showing where we're going with that capital management program. And we spoke about this in the past, where we recognize the capital projects, how many dollars we have, how we're going to spend those, what become the priority, and we project that out over 5 years. About a 45-minute to an hour-long presentation. We're excited about doing that. And then Mary Elizabeth Mock is not here, but I want to congratulate and applaud Garver for stepping up. They have supported the STEM education camp, what I believe with Pastor Wynn and his team, which will begin in July. So we're excited about our partnership with Garver, and this is just an example of how many people believe in this community. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, but Michael Graves, who's one of their senior executives, is from Lawton, and his father is from Lawton, and their family lives here. So they're invested in this community, and they just put their money where their mouth is. So we want to thank them for that.
And both have worked for the city of Lawton. So that's great. And I think this is a perfect example, Michael, that Lawton leads, and I want to thank you for that. Motion for executive session? A motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Hampton. Yes. Fortenbaugh. Yes. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Yes. Chapman.
Okay. Okay, we're back from executive session. Please call the roll.
Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Hampton.
Okay, and item number 22, John.
Pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, council convened an executive session to discuss the status of an ongoing investigation concerning pension calculations. I understand there is no action on this agenda item at this time.
I have a motion, a second, and a third. Please call the roll.
Harris. Chapman. Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren.